thank you that you listen to the cries of your people. I don't know how to turn it on.
Should be on.
Hello? Well, we can just pray. Hello? Woo. It's working now. Holy Spirit, we invite you right now. We need you. We need you. We need you. Father, you see us. You see the gathering of your people right now, Lord. And God, we just ask you, we ask you to move in this situation. We ask you to use this time, Father, for your purposes, for the good of the people and for your glory. God, we just thank you. We thank you that no matter what the question is, Jesus is the answer. Jesus for our courthouses, Jesus for our judicial, Jesus for our legal departments. Father, Jesus is the answer, Lord. We ask you to turn hearts back to Jesus. Father, we ask you to break any hardened hearts, that you would soften those hearts. You would turn the world back to Jesus. You would turn our courthouses back to Jesus. You would turn your people back to Jesus. Father, thank you. God, thank you. We need you so much. We need you so much. We need you to move on behalf of your people. Father, I pray that you would be exalted in all of this, that you would be high and lifted up, and you would draw men and women to you from everywhere. As your name is lifted up, as your purposes are lifted up, as we seek not our own, but we seek for the kingdom of God to be expanded. And that can only happen by lifting up righteousness and justice. So, Father, thank you for being here. Thank you for going before us. Thank you, Lord. I pray that you would direct every single thing that happens today, every word, every attitude, everything, so that it's yours. It belongs to you, and we release it now and commit it into your hands. In the name of Jesus. Thank you, Lord.
Okay, I'm safe. I just wanted to
Yeah.
put a face. I know you're busy, but I'm in the room here if you need me.
Okay, I'm just trying to get there.
Yeah, you're fine.
Maybe I heard the other speaker earlier, but
Do you want me to test it? Here.
it's not working.
This one's not working? Okay. Can you hear me in the back? I'm pretty loud though, so that's probably just me. Give us just a second. They're having a little technical difficulties, but I'm glad you guys made it out. I know it's going to get a little warm, but at least it's not raining. How many Tulsa people do we have here? How many out of town? Where from? Okay, you're the one that, okay. Yes, I know you now. I drove up here from Lindsay, Oklahoma, if you know where that's at. I'm just going to keep talking so they can keep testing me. So if I talk a little nonsense or tell too many jokes, just stop me, okay? Let me put it on here and see. Is that still good? It's softer, isn't it? Yeah. They're going to have to get right up on it like this. How's everybody doing? Oh, it cut out a little bit. There we go. How's that? Can you guys hear me all right? How about right here?
Can you still hear me? Right here?
Oh, right here.
Okay.
What was that?
I'm not certain. I think Rosario pulled that close right
Sorry,
there.
are you hooked up with the radio?
You better make sure you guys aren't all connected.
Are you sure? Whatever you just did went through the radio.
Maybe it's my phone. Hold on, let me turn my Bluetooth off. Okay, my Bluetooth is off.
Gotta love all these devices connecting.
You guys, oh, we're off again. Can we see? No. Hello? We lost it.
It should be paired. They're doing technology. Yeah.
Hello, hello?
Okay.
No. Hello, hello? I unplugged myself, so I don't even have my Bluetooth on. Hello, hello?
Hey, turn that speaker off over there. Like I turned it back on.
I'm on channel 6. Is it on the right channel?
This one doesn't have, you only have one, but the speaker should
Hello?
Oh,
We're back up.
Now try.
Hello? How's everybody doing? Can everybody hear me all right? Have we got this situated? Okay. You guys, we got to give a lot of credit to these organizers back here. We've got Marquise Dennis, got Clay Spicer right here, and Rosario Chico. I'll introduce them better later, but I'd like to thank you guys for coming. I know a lot of you drove a long way to get here. We've got a, I feel like I stepped away. Can you still hear me when I step back here? Yeah, okay. All right, so we have a few elected officials that have still not made it through yet, but we have a lot of advocates that we've worked together on multiple projects. The main focus today was cameras in the courtroom, but there's a lot of judicial reform that we want to see in 2026. This is going to be a great year. I have a good feeling about it. I hope you guys are excited. I hope you don't mind this, Lisa, but will you start us out?
I already brought her up though. Oh, so you guys are going to organize this? Okay. Have a seat.
My apologies. We're going to start with Marquise Dennis. He is the founder and the director of Birthright Living Legacy. His advocacy focuses on fatherhood and father's rights, as well as strengthening the family unit.
2 hours? Good morning, good morning. All right, so, yeah, I'll just grab, oh, I turned it off. Shouldn't have touched it. All right, there we go. So, hello, thank you all for coming out. Super excited to have you all here. The purpose of this amazing event is really just to make sure that we are giving everybody equal justice. One of the things that happens is since we've turned on the cameras, on the body cameras for the policing, somehow magically policing changed for everyone. And it took away question marks, it protected the cops that were involved, it protected the citizens, and that's all we're asking is we're saying, hey, in the courtroom, let's just make sure outside of those already deemed non-recordable types of events, how about we make those videos available? How about we make those things, those proceedings available for the public, and just turn the volume up. We're not asking for you to change and overhaul the whole system. There's already cameras there. There's already awareness there. People are already able to see it. But what this does is a few things. One, it gives everybody an opportunity to see what is going on in the courtroom, what is not going on in the courtroom, and it helps us to be able to keep track and keep accountability for those that are serving us as judges, as bailiffs, as people in the community. We are asking for them to do a wonderful, amazing job. And we just want to be able to make sure that they have the same level of accountability, the same level of involvement as the police and everybody else that's a public servant. And so in the fatherhood range, I get a lot of dads that are always asking me, hey, how come everybody leaves the courtroom except for me? What's going on back there with their attorneys, my attorney? Why is everybody making decisions about my life without me involved? And so what that does is if I go to tell Clay, hey man, this is what happened in my case, if he wasn't there, there's no way for him to know. If he wasn't in the room with me, there's no way, there's no advocate for me when I'm being put in a situation to where I feel like my rights have been violated or I haven't received my due process. We ask the courts to be able to turn on, oh, I'm sorry, let me just put this down. So when we ask for the courtroom to just simply turn on, oh, I'm messing up all kinds of stuff. Is there a way to, yeah, I didn't want to break it. Okay, there we go. So when we're asking the courtrooms to simply turn on the cameras, we're just simply asking that everyone get equal opportunity to check the law. You know, we have a dad that was interested in becoming an attorney. He said, I want to be a lawyer because of the stories that I've heard, the things that I've seen, and I would love to be able to do it. But you know what he can't do? He can't sit in the courtroom all day. But what he could do if we had this available, if we were able to turn on the volume and be able to have these accessible to the public, he could watch those cases later. If you have family members that are interested in your case or what's going on in your situation, they have an opportunity to watch from afar. They don't have to fly in. I mean, you know, court things happen to where they have to reschedule, where, you know, there was no notice when they have to move something around. People have to take off work. They have to come in. This to be told, hey, you know, something on the docket changes. And that's normal. It happens. But wouldn't it be amazing if I lived in Florida, that I knew that, hey, I have a dad or a cousin or someone that is on trial, that I could be able to support them and be able to watch them to make sure that everything is happening in their due process. Because I may know more about the law than they do. I may be able to add some insight. I may be able to attract the right assistance because it's expensive. If you're in the court system, it is expensive. And again, I understand that the job that they're doing as judges, as police officers is hard. It's not for the faint of heart. But what we do ask is that we have a process that's able to protect them, but also able to protect us as citizens. Because we are the ones that are voting for these people to take place in their office. And we want to be able to have the accountability that we are giving people their due process, They are giving people the opportunity to be able to be represented, whether it's pro se or they're doing it with an attorney. They should be able to be represented by the law's standpoint. And again, we're not here to talk about people, we're talking about processes. It's really easy to come up and start slinging mud on particular individuals and say this person this or this person that. But that's old. We don't need to get into that. I call that post-Jerry Springer politics. A lot of times people want to get in and call names and make people... Hello? What happened? No, I didn't touch it. It's just going on. Make people the villains when really the system has to be set up to where it protects everybody involved. It's not going to say that we're going to legislate somehow a perfect outcome, but what we are trying to do is figure out what is the best way that we can get together with legislators, judges, police officers, and the community to say, hey, what is the best way that we can accomplish what we're after? And again, what we're after is being able to turn up the accountability by turning the volume up on the cameras, because this is our city, this is our state. And imagine what can happen when we are able to say, hey, you know what, we're fully transparent and we're willing to be accountable to the people that we serve. I see one of our great legislators on his way up, so I will slide over.
Okay, now we got to adjust again because I'm pretty short here. Next up, I want to introduce Clay Spicer. He is the most organized person ever. Like, he put this thing together, and I am just so happy to be working together. He is the focal point of accountability. Oh, there we are. Okay. The focal point of accountability, Clay Spicer.
Hello, everybody. She gives me too much credit. These girls did a fantastic job helping us put everything together. Without them, we couldn't have done it. I don't even know where to start with the court system, and it's so broken that it really needs a whole overhaul. So it's really so broken that it needs a overhaul over the whole thing. But I think the cameras would give everybody accountability on imagine having a camera that you could go back at your friend and say, hey, my case was messed up today. There was some weird stuff going on between attorneys and judges. There's backdoor meetings. Imagine being able to get on a live feed and go back there and watch that, the video of it, and then you get to see it with your own eyes. Because right now, I mean, you get a transcript, and the transcript never tells the full story of what really happened inside that courtroom. I think in order to have justice for the people, everybody has to be able to see this. At the end of the day, this is our taxpayers' dollars that are paying for all of this right here. All these attorneys, they team up, they've got buddy systems they've worked out in between. Conflicts of interest are no such thing anymore in, I'd say Tulsa County, but I think every county in Oklahoma. I don't know. I mean, I think that it would hold everybody accountable, and I don't know, what the process is getting it done. But like I said, they already have cameras in there. They already have cameras on every cop that is in town. When they pull you over, you're on camera. They already put you on TV shows, even if you don't want to be on TV shows. But then they say that they don't want to have cameras in the courtroom for people's privacy. Well, I feel like that's kind of for their privacy, not for our privacy. I don't know. It's been a long time coming, and I think it's time that something actually gets done on this. I think we've got a lot of people behind this, starting to get behind it. People are starting to open their eyes. And I don't know what the next process is, but I appreciate you guys showing up.
Thanks, Clay. Next up, I'm going to introduce Miss Rosario Chico, and she might be a little slow getting here because she had a pretty bad fall earlier, so sorry. But Miss Chico, she has organized a lot of different events. We've worked together on petitions. Hold on. She also works for DHS, so a lot of her focus has been on, children's rights, family reform, kinship reform, private guardianship reform. Her focus has been pretty much anything to do with families. So Miss Chico, if you walk over or hobble over here.
Okay. I just want to thank you guys for being here. We truly, truly appreciate it. We get asked a lot of what is it going to take to create change in this courtroom and in every courtroom across the state. And what it's going to take, it's people like you that show up to these events, because you can bet that everybody in that courtroom and in that courthouse that works there knows that we are out here. We provided them a press release, and they are aware of the due process issues that so many are facing in the state of Oklahoma and with this courthouse. Typically, we would want to be on that side, but there's construction occurring, and what we truly need is not just construction with the infrastructure, but we really need construction within how our justice system works. It is really heartbreaking that we're maintaining a building, a physical condition of a building, but the reality is we have so many people being failed every day. We have children being failed every day. We have cases where there's malicious prosecutions. We have cases where children have been taken from their parents without due process. We have cases with probate where people have been stripped of what belongs to them. And if anybody doesn't know, Tulsa has the second highest divorce rate in the nation. We have the second highest divorce rate in the nation. If you think that something negative can't happen to you within this courthouse, you are wrong. You are going to be sized up by how many properties you have, the money you have, what attorneys you can afford. So anybody in Tulsa County, I really urge you to start paying attention, because we have the highest divorce rate in the country, and that doesn't include all the criminal cases. That doesn't include all the child custody cases, the probate cases. We're one of the states that has the highest incarceration rate in the country. If you don't think you're going to be affected by these courthouses, you really need to start paying attention now. Now, I'll say, we had a woman reach out to us that was driving from here from far away, and we have quite a few people that have driven hours to be here. But this individual was staying the night in their vehicle just so that they can attend this event. And this isn't the first time this happens. We have had individuals drive to the Oklahoma Capitol, and they have slept in their cars. And it's because it's that important. People have been failed. This morning, I had a really difficult time being able to even make it here. I made it an hour later. And the reason why is I don't have my children. I haven't had my children for 3.5 years, almost 4 years. But today, my oldest child turns 15 years old, and his birthday is at 11:23 this morning. And it's very difficult to be able to function as an individual whenever you have been stripped from what you're deserving of. And there's been so many parents that have been stripped of their children, that court cases have been elongated. This courthouse in particular has delayed show cause hearings for parents for 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, a year. A show cause hearing is an evidence hearing, and whenever your children are taken away, you have the right to have an evidence hearing. This courthouse is a large violator that instead of doing the court hearings right away within days, it prolongs the process for months. You have a court hearing in the afternoon, you don't get done, and then 6 months later, you're supposed to come back and try to finish that show cause hearing, and then it gets delayed. And so we just want people to understand that this is something that needs to be changed. We have had many complaints where court reporters are denied, And this is why we need cameras in these courtrooms. We have had reports where a judge goes off record, and whenever they go off record, then there's no longer a record. Also, we have court transcripts that we have court transcripts that cost a lot of money. I know personally I've paid up to $1,300, $1,400 for one court transcript. If you don't have the resources, unfortunately, you don't have justice. And so we're hoping for a system where we get to record what's happening in these courtrooms, and also that people are able to have a record of what's happening, that people are able to chime in, that any of you can just be able to log in and know what's happening in any court case at any time. Okay.
There's another mic right in front of me. Turn it on.
Okay. I don't know if this might be better. Okay. So we have we have to do court cameras in the courtroom. Basically, we have to keep a better record. I know that people are concerned regarding confidentiality and victims and juries. The reality is there's already a system set up for that. If you've ever watched any court hearing, whether it's Cardi B or any famous person, the cameras are not, we can keep the cameras from being on the jury. If you have a child that's testifying, there's a way to monitor so that you don't have that child on camera. So there's ways to safeguard victims. But there has to be a way to safeguard justice, because right now it's not working. We really have to make a push to create change in this building. And I'll tell you, I'm on year 3.5, getting ready to be on year 4. We aren't going to stop being out here and pushing and having events and going to the media until there's something that is done. So either our courthouses across Oklahoma can listen to us, or we're going to continue to be out here until something happens, until change is created. Because there's too many children that are in the system, there's people that have lost their properties, there's people that have lost their freedom. So we're not going to go anywhere until there's change, and this is just the beginning. We've had an overwhelming people that didn't feel safe coming today due to current events and being scared of speaking out in public and what can happen. But the reality is there's a lot of us that are not scared because it's what we have to do. It's our children that are on the line. It's our loved ones that are on the line, our freedom, our property. And so I just want to thank everybody that came here. We really appreciate you guys. This is just a series. This is not just for Tulsa County. This is for all of Oklahoma. And the state law in Oklahoma is that it's up to a judge to be able to approve cameras in the courtroom. And so it's time that we send a message to all those judges. And it is time to approve cameras in those courtrooms. We have too many complaints about judges not being judicial and not acting in accordance with the law. We have so many complaints about attorneys doing the same. And so it's time that we create change. And I'm going to go ahead and pass it to our next person. Thank you guys so much. We have a food truck during lunch, so if you guys get hungry.
Thank you so much, Rosario. Let me tell you, this girl works so hard. Can you guys still hear me? Okay. Now, I don't know if this guy really needs much of an introduction. I mean, he kind of introduces himself. We've worked together for quite a few years, going all the way back to about 2019. I don't know if that's too far along, but it seems like forever ago. Mr. Representative J.J. Humphrey, if you'll come up here. You got it?
Hello, it's great to be here in Tulsa today. My device got me a little mixed up on the roads around here. A little hard to get in there right here. So one of the things that I'm just shocked by, and I don't know if you guys have paid attention, but in the last few days with all the things that are going on in our nation, one of the biggest conversations that are going on are about family. Son, I'll take a hit by the flag any day of the week. But it's about family. Man, that's the conversation going on, restoring families, bringing families back together. Guys, here in Oklahoma, we have our government, we have our judicial, we have our agencies trying to destroy family. And you know, when I first came up to the Capitol 10 years ago, I would have never believed that. I would have never believed that DHS would intentionally harm children. I wouldn't believe that we could have a report, that we could go to DHS and say that we know kids are being abused, sexually abused in detention centers, and that they would ignore that they would allow that to continue to happen. Guys, I wouldn't believe that kids could be waterboarded, tortured. Here in Oklahoma, mental health children be waterboarded, and that we could go and we could bring that up, and we could have whistleblowers. But guess what happens to the whistleblowers who come and bravely bring that forward? They're fired. Our agencies fire them for telling the truth, for protecting children, while our agencies cover it up. They cover it up, and it's unbelievable. I couldn't believe that. As I started to find this out, started to challenge to bring this forward, guess who I had to fight? I didn't have to just fight agencies, and it's not one agency. You have OJA, you have DHS, you have OCCY. All of these agencies know this is going on, and yet absolutely do nothing. In fact, cover it up. So we had a group here, Appleseed, formed a 350-page, very comprehensive report, and then gave that to the AG, who did nothing. And we gave it to the governor, who did absolutely nothing. And we gave it to the House, and they did nothing. We gave it to the Senate, and they did absolutely nothing. Guys, we had many cases where we had it documented. Not only kids being waterboarded, not only kids being physically abused, sexually abused, but kids that were taken out of their home illegally, without hearings, without proper court procedure, without any due process. These kids are being stolen, taken out of homes, and at first I thought, well, this is just a few cases. This is just rare cases. Guys, I get emails, I get calls every day. No matter where I go, people stop me and they talk to me about what's going on with DHS and about how they have illegally stole their kids, or they've got them in a hearing, or they've ruined their lives. And guys, we have went forward with this, and we've done grand jury petitions, because that's what the people's recourse is. So we've done grand jury petitions. There in Oklahoma County, we never got a hearing. They wouldn't accept the evidence. We finally stuck the evidence on them. I got the evidence in writing a judge a letter, and I put it a certified, so when we email a letter, they had to accept the certification, and I snuck the information. I attached it, so when he opened that letter, I'm like, gotcha. You got the information, okay? He has the information. Guess what he did with it? Nothing. Because he did nothing, I went across the lawn over there, across up there at the Capitol, the Supreme Court Justice, and I entered an amicus brief. That means a friend of the court's brief. And I said, yo, Judge, that judge over there is not doing his job, and here's how he's not doing his job. Guess what they did? They did absolutely nothing. Guys, I went everywhere that you could possibly go. So then we went to the people again, and we went up to Garfield County where this disgusting torture is taking place. Guess what happened up there? They're working on getting the petition, and people come in, steal the petition, set it on fire. It's a well-known fact. It's recorded. They did a police report, but to my knowledge, nothing done. Nothing done. The crew that did a petition here, guess what? The DA came out right here and tried to intimidate. Guys, it's obstruction. It is against the law. The district attorney did that. The district attorney put out public notifications in an attempt to intimidate people to sign the petition. Guys, it's against the law. If you want to go over to Wagner County, guess what? The AG who is subject to the petition was up arguing the numbers on the petition. How illegal is that? If it's not illegal, it should be illegal. But the guy that's the subject of it is sitting over here trying to kill it. It's called obstruction. I know it's illegal. It's called obstruction. When he got done, when we didn't get that petition, guess what he did? He called the AG and wanted people investigated. Guys, I don't know if you pay attention to Wagner County, but they had a wrongful death over there by the officers, in which that same DA said nothing to see here, nothing at all. He cleared them. Guess what? The federal court just said that DA was wrong, and again, they took off the qualified immunity, which means it was really, really wrong, and it gave them qualified immunity. Guys, do you get what I'm saying? Let me bring it down to you. That DA accused everybody else of lying on this petition, yet the federal court just said he's the liar, he's the one who lied, and the petition is true because that was one of the things in the petition. But guys, I don't know if you've been paying attention, but have y'all watched what's going on in Payne County and the fight that we're having in Payne County? So we get a petition, and about the 25th, the Supreme Court Justice, who is named on this petition, shows up in Payne County, which is really, really rare, and it's pretty odd, okay? 25th, he shows up. On the 28th, two of the very, very political people named in this, named in the petition. So two of the very political people named in that petition show up on the 28th, okay? Now, I want you to keep all this straight. So you got the justice shows up 3 days before, wow. You got two major government officials showing up on the 28th. On the same day of the 28th, a judge from Noble County enters himself into a case in Payne County that he has no jurisdiction over. He also has a motion to disqualify. And when you get a motion to disqualify, that means that is state. He cannot get in that case, okay? Plus, he is a subject of the grand jury. So there's 3 reasons that guy should not be anywhere around this thing. But guess what he does? He issues 2 warrants, 2 charges for the chief organizer of the petition. They arrest him. He goes up to pay a bond. The court clerk will not accept his bond. Now you want to talk about some sketchy stuff. That's sketchy stuff right there, okay? Wouldn't accept the bond. The deputy finally had to say, I'm going to let this guy go if you don't take his bond because what you're doing is illegal. She took the bond. She wasn't happy. She took the bond. They released him at 4 o'clock. So get this. Judge that's on the petition issues warrants. The Supreme Court Justice visits. Government officials visit. And here is this judge who wouldn't get involved in a kid's case because he said it would be a conflict because I'm over the grand jury. He wouldn't get involved in this father trying to protect his kid and going to report abuse. Guys, when you go report abuse, they're supposed to do a hearing in 24 hours. I can personally tell you, I wrote this judge. We spent 3 weeks begging this judge to do a hearing to determine if this kid had been abused and where this kid needed to be placed. Okay, but this judge says, I can't get involved because I'm with you and we're over this grand jury. But that day, after all these people visit, guess what he does? He gets with the DA, who is also named in the petition, and they issue 5 or 6 warrants for this guy. 5 charges. They issue a warrant. He gets arrested in front of his kids at soccer. They take him down and put a $1 million bond on him. And then they extort him to get his kid. If you don't give us your kid, we're going to keep you in jail. If you give us your kid, we will lower the bond. Guys, it's extortion. It's extortion by government. Go look it up. They ought to be charged. They ought to be bond put on them. They finally got the kid who was in a shelter. The shelter has a standing order that this kid, if he comes in and presents that he's going to be able to stay there 72 hours and be protected. Guess what they did? 5 hours later, they took him and they put him back with his abuser. And guys, there's something bad wrong. And again, what we've seen, there's a grandma the other day in that same county presented her kid. DHS found that that kid was being abused. Guess what they did with grandma? Because she got the kid with DHS, and because she wouldn't give the kid back, and she's saying, I can't give the kid back, the kid is in custody. Just like Daryl said, I can't give you the kid back, he's in custody. He's in y'all's custody. They arrested Daryl, $1 million bond. They arrested grandma. Guys, they have killed our petition. It's called obstruction, and it is time that we go and investigate our government. Why is our AG, why is our governor, why is the House leadership, why is the Senate leadership refusing to look? Why is DHS refusing to look? Why is OJA refusing to look? Why? They won't even open an investigation. Guys, with hideous, criminal, sexual abuse, torture, they will not even open an investigation. They came after me. They took my chairmanship away. They will not allow me to have a bill on the floor. They're after me greatly. I wear it like a badge. I'm honored. Guys, I'm going to fight for you. I'm going to fight for your families. I'm going to fight for the state of Oklahoma. I'm going to fight for our nation. I'm fired up, and it's time we all get fired up and we all get in this fight, and that we go after the state of Oklahoma government and we call them out. Guys, this year's an election year. It's time to get your head in the game, get the knowledge of who actually is working for you and who's actually covering this up. I'm J.J. Humphrey. I'm running for Lieutenant Governor, and if you vote for me, we'll get this mess straightened out.
Thank you, JJ. I kind of mixed up the order a little bit, but...
Boots on the porch, rifle in hand, badge in his heart, cattle on the road. He's the kind of man you call your own. J.J. Humphrey, Oklahoma strong. Riding for justice, fixing what's wrong. Cowboy hat high, he's earned his place with a prison past.
I highly endorse this guy. I mean, he has been at this for so long that we're ready for some change in Oklahoma, and I feel like he's the guy that can get it done. Next up, another amazing senator we've got over here, Senator Prieto. He has been a huge advocate for DHS reform, children's rights, parental rights, family court reform. I mean, he pretty much does it all, but he really doesn't need an introduction, but here it is anyway.
Thank you. Got the order a little mixed up. I was supposed to introduce Representative Humphrey, but my name is Senator Dana Prieto. I just wanted to get my pronouns correct because I see the media is here, so I'm a Bible-believing conservative, Christian conservative. I'm not a lawyer, not a judge, and don't pretend to be one. but I've talked to hundreds of constituents across the state that have been, how can I say this nicely, messed over by DHS and the court system. So most of my knowledge about the court system comes from the constituents and what's happened to them. And what's happened. Oh, my. Is this working? There we go. Okay. So they've been messed up by the court system. One of the things is, everybody know what the PARB is? Post-Adjudication Review Board. So if they take your children by DHS, by statute, that means by law in Oklahoma, the Post-Adjudication Review Board, every 6 months is supposed to look at the case and say, hey, okay, it was a good idea to take kids from mom and dad, or no, we think the kid should go back to mom and dad. I see the Woolies are here. How long has it been? 7.5 years. How many PARB hearings have you had? Zero PARB hearings. By statute, every 6 months they're supposed to look at it. And then, so the judges have said, we don't listen to PARB reviews. We don't want to hear, even though it's a statute in the state. A number of judges have said, we don't want to hear it. I happen to know of a friend's case. The judge said she got a PARB review because I insisted on it. So the judge said, we won't listen. I don't admit the PARB review into my court. I won't look at it. Once the judge found out that it went against the girl, the judge admitted it into court. See, this is supposed to be, what's a judge supposed to be? Fair and unbiased. Like I said, that's my opinion. And from what I've seen, I want to talk about something that's not my opinion, but the Chief Justice Sotomayor, in the Glossop case, there was actually in a number of cases she talked about this, about Oklahoma judicial system. I'm just going to read what she said. The United States Supreme Court found that prosecutors violated Richard Glossop's due process of law. That sound familiar? Because a lot of people have their due process of law in Oklahoma, not done right. So she said it wasn't a procedural error. It was a direct violation of the Constitution's guarantee of a fair trial. She used that decision to argue for greater accountability in Oklahoma's criminal justice system and to stress that the constitutional fidelity is not optional. It's very foundation of due process. So, and then she went on and talked about another case where she said the same thing. I won't get into that one. And at this point, I was supposed to introduce J.J. Humphrey because he actually worked on the case and got the judge to recuse herself from that. Because when the case was going to come back in front of the judge, they had the same judge who was going to be looking at it, and he worked on getting her to recuse herself, and she did. So the bottom line is we need judicial reform in Oklahoma. We need DHS reform, and like Representative Humphrey said, it's not just DHS, it's agency after agency after agency that needs to be reformed. Thank you. Fight for Oklahoma.
Fredo, thank you so much. Our next speaker, he is kind of new. He is running in Ty Burns' place, Representative Ty Burns, who stepped down. And his name is James Wynn. I got to talk to him a little bit about what his focus was. And I mean, he is a huge advocate for Oklahoma values. Us abiding by the Constitution, which seems very rare nowadays. But I'll let him talk to you guys and tell us a little bit about himself.
Hello, thank you for having me. Like you said, my name is James Wynn, and I'm running for House Districts, District 35 to replace Ty Burns, who resigned. So special election December 9th. If you're in District 35, please get out and vote. I'm just going to kind of echo what everybody's been saying. I think by this point, we've all know friends or know somebody that's had some egregious abuse from the court, from the sheriff, from some sort of agency. They're talking about 2 to 3 months not to get a court hearing. I have friends that spend 3 years without getting in front of the judge. It's just totally ridiculous. If I'm elected, some of the legislation I would like to put forth is we need teeth behind these laws. Like he's saying, a lot of these are already in law, as in 6 months to adjudication, but then no one's following the law. So I think we need to fight and push to introduce legislation that will hold the judge accountable, the sheriff accountable, whoever it is that's kind of upholding justice and blocking and interfering with justice. We need some kind of teeth that gets them moving, that gets them persuaded to say, oh, I don't want to violate this law. Because it's one thing to pass legislation, get it into the law, but then if the judge doesn't follow it, if anyone doesn't follow it, it isn't really a law. So that's one of the issues that's kind of dear to my heart, is getting some teeth behind the legislation and going from there. As a constitutional conservative, so much of my life is fighting to restore the checks and balances. To me, our checks and balances have slowly been eroded away throughout time, little by little, so no one notices it. And then all of a sudden, we're standing here in front of the courthouse fighting to get a check and balance back. So that's kind of me and what I'm doing. I'm supporting this because in this day and age, the cameras already have the courts, or the courts already have the cameras in use. It's just allowing our access to those cameras, just as if the body cam or anything else, you file a freedom of information request and get what the information you need. But just like the body cams, I don't know how many of y'all experience this. You go file a freedom of information request for the body cam, and then they just reply, it doesn't exist. Okay, even though their guidelines state that they have to have the body cam on at all times, magically in this case it doesn't exist. So that's another reason I'm pushing to add teeth into the legislation, because to me that's interference with justice. It's a crime to tamper with evidence by not producing the evidence. We need some teeth to enforce the law, to make them turn over the body cams, to make them turn over the courtroom cams. And that's kind of just where I am at as a freedom, liberty, Constitution as its original form type constituent. Again, my name's James Wynn. I urge all y'all to get out. December 9th is when the special election is. If you have any interest in volunteering or donating to my campaign, or you just want to learn more about me, my website is jameswinnok.com. Again, it's jameswinn, WINNOK.com. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Now, I've kind of brought her up here way too early, and I've kept her waiting, so I'm going to bring up Miss Lisa Woolley. Oh, Bill's going to talk.
Yeah, I'm with both of them.
Okay, all right. Well, Bill Woolley. Now, I met them probably 3 years ago, and I mean, they're just wonderful people. So they've worked really hard with us at multiple events. They've always shown up, so I'm just grateful for the Woolies.
Thank you very much. We're supposed to be a constitutional republic, but since the people, it's written for the people, we the people, or we the people have fallen asleep. We've allowed this system to morph itself into what it is. We have to take it over. Whenever the darkness thrives, it will become injustice. And whenever light shines, it will become righteous. So we have to see that our court system,
Our justice.
hello, our justice system stays lit. And with cameras in there, I can speak personally from our experiences since March 2018. We've been fighting the system in criminal, civil, and in the DHS system. We know all three very well. And they're all three very, very, very corrupt, in my opinion. We've had judges break the law. We've had them tell the court recorders to go off record and then delete it from the transcripts, which is very, very important information that we needed. And now it's hearsay because it's our word against theirs. This is the stuff that could have taken judges and attorneys disbarred and put in prison. But because we have no record, we can't prove this happened. And they say, well, tell us the proof. Okay, you deleted it. How can we show it to you? Now, if these hearings are public hearings like there are, we should be able to take our cell phones and film inside the courtroom. What are they hiding? Why are they hiding behind this? We've even had judges where we've paid and had court recorders at the hearing deny them access to the hearing. We've had them also, when we've asked for them, not be allowed to be there. What are they hiding? Why do they have to be in the dark like that? In my opinion, we have to have cameras allowed, recordings allowed by whoever that's in the gallery to be allowed to record everything. Another thing that judges famously do is they go off the record. So there is no record. And then they go back in their chambers with just the attorneys. And the people who are involved, that's their interest, aren't allowed in. What's going on back there? Why do they have to go off the record if they're not hiding or doing something sketchy? We have got to change the way it operates, and the only way this is going to happen is by we the people.
I don't have a lot to say, but I'll just say that 47 other states already have this and will say that this is a good thing. For some reason, I don't know why Oklahoma's so backwards and resistant, but, you know, this is very, very important that we fight for this and that we insist on this. It's good for everybody. If everybody's doing the right thing, it shouldn't be a problem. We've had situations where we had very, very important hearings, motion hearings, and things like that, where we came in and there was supposed to be a court reporter and there wasn't one. And thankfully at that one particular time, our attorney said to the judge, I'm not moving forward until you get one down here. But that he even had to ask, when the Constitution says that there has to be a record, there's supposed to be a record of everything. You shouldn't have to ask for a court reporter. We've had times where we've gone in and the judge would say, no, I'm sorry, you have to ask whatever, 3 days in advance or something like that. Constitution says that's to be a given. So there's a lot of that going on. We've seen judges deny emergency protective hearings for our grandson, which I think, according to the statutes, they have 72 hours to provide, and if they don't, then the district judge has 24 hours to provide. In this case, our grandson was saying that he was being abused, he was running away, trying to get to safety. He was saying that they're so mean to him there that if he has to go back, he's going to commit suicide, he's going to take his life. The judge never provided a hearing. He went to the district judge, he wouldn't do it, back and forth. They just kept passing it back and forth like a hot potato. Never did get that. And the judge finally said, 6 months later, the judge finally said, well, you know, I talked to DHS and they said that this kind of abuse doesn't rise to the level of justifying a hearing. And I'm thinking to myself, is there something more serious than suicide? What is it? So, I mean, there's just all kinds of weird stuff like that. We had guardianship of our grandkids. They dissolved our guardianship without a hearing, which is our basic rights, our basic due process rights, and they had access to us, so we could have been there. Anyway, there's just a lot of stuff that we just don't understand, but we think this is a great idea because it's helped so many on both sides in 47 other states. So let's really, really push for this.
Just real quick, one more thing about that hearing was we were in jail at the time they dissolved our guardianship. Here's how the collusion works. They held a hearing to dissolve our guardianship over Clayton. And since we were in jail, they didn't serve us, they didn't take us there, which is their responsibility and legal obligation. They had the hearing and said we didn't show up. So they did automatically dissolve the guardianship. Well, how could we show up if we're in their custody? This is what takes place in our system, has to stop, and we need to make sure that we, the people, support it financially with your time and get involved.
Thank you so much, the police. They've been amazing, guys. Let me see. Okay, this one's up and running now, so I'm going to turn this one off. Okay. Next up, we have the Reeds, Mandy Reed and Sean Reed. If you guys can both just make your way up here. Do what?
Glory. So I just wanted to say a couple things real quick. One, remember, there's nobody that takes office without us as the people putting them there. No one. And unfortunately, a lot of times, we don't take these things seriously until we become the victim. I was actually helping out with the Clayton case. Dana Pareto and a couple other guys pulled me in on that. But when you hear this stuff, it sometimes sounds so crazy. You're like, there is no way that this is happening in the court. There is no way. You're making that up. You're putting a 10 on a 2. And that is what we're trying to stop. We're trying to stop the rumors. We're trying to stop the false accusations towards the judges or towards the people. We're just trying to equal the playing field so that way when you hear these stories, you can say, you know what, let me go back and look at that. Because that just sounds a little uncouth. Or this is crazy. And what you're about to hear about their case is insane. But if you could see it with your own eyes, if you were there to watch it, if you were there to experience it, it would make a drastic difference. And so I just wanted to say that, to keep context as you guys are thinking about and hearing this stuff. Because it's going to sound a little wild at times. But if you're not sitting in the courtroom, you won't know that these things are taking place. It'll just sound like, oh, you're just making that up, or you're just saying that so people can feel sorry for you. But no, I'm telling you, it gets a lot worse. It gets a lot worse.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Sean Reed. I've experienced many biased and illegal proceedings in the Potawatomi Family Court. Some are so unbelievable, most people don't believe me when I tell them. But this is my reality, and it's the reality for too many families who walk into these courtrooms thinking they'll find justice. I want to share something with you today that happened in my own case that should alarm every citizen who cares about justice. After 2 of my last hearings, when I went back to request the record, I was told by the court staffer, Kit Vickery, that there was nothing on the Zoom recorder. If you think about that, 2 hearings, no record, it was that those proceedings never happened. And it wasn't just any hearings. During one of them, Senator Shane Jett himself gave sworn testimony about the heinous abuse my daughter endured in her mother's name. That testimony is now gone forever. The Oklahoma Supreme Court will never hear it, and without a record, I cannot even properly appeal it. That is not just a technical error, that is direct denial of justice. This isn't just about me, it's about a system that lets evidence of abuse vanish while they're in the very same courtroom. A judge, with the swipe of a pen, ordered me to pay $43,000 in back child support. It was illegal on its face. When my attorney told the judge it was illegal, his response was, and I quote, "Well, I don't care. She's had the kid. She deserves it." That's not the law. That's bias, power, and contempt of rule of law. And that's why we need cameras in the courtroom are not optional. They are essential. Not just audio, not just to clutch words with something recorded, but actual cameras that preserve the truth of what happens inside those walls, because justice doesn't need to be done, it needs to be seen to be done. Cameras protect everyone. They protect the accused, they protect the victims, the judges and lawyers too, because they ensure that what actually happens is what the public sees, not some reconstructed story later. In a time where trust in the courts is at an all-time low, transparency isn't optional, it's essential. If 2 hearings can disappear into thin air, hearings that contain testimony of child abuse from a state senator, how many others are gone? How many families have been silenced by missing records? How many appeals have died because there was nothing to point back to? This is why I will continue to fight for cameras in every Oklahoma courtroom, not because I want attention, not because I want to make a spectacle, but because the truth deserves to be preserved and the people deserve to see it. Justice hidden is justice denied, and I will not speak until the people's court belongs to the people again. Thank you, guys.
So that was my husband and our story, but what led me to standing before you today is I met Rosario Chico, and she and I founded, along with another lady, founded Oklahoma's for Children's Rights. And in Oklahoma, we believe that children should have rights and due process. Oklahoma decided that the fetus in the womb had the right to survive and to thrive, but they deny the children outside the womb, and that's why I stand before you today. And so I could tell you story after story after story that have led my path here. I was a CASA, and I witnessed great horrific things. No prosecution. One case specifically, a mom crushed the skull of an infant and slit the throat of a goat and drank it and made the 3-year-old drink it. There was no prosecution for her. These cases that have heinous crime deserve to be prosecuted. But yet, we're not finding those cases prosecuted. What we are finding is people like Rosario Chico and Sean and Haley and Daryl and all these other cases who their children have been stripped because they have assets and money and things to strip from them to keep up this charade and this game. Hundreds of thousands of dollars fed into the system to keep up these games, to build these courthouses, to add this on. So all their attorney friends can go out on Friday and play golf together and spend their money. It's horrific what they're doing to the families, and it's horrific what they're doing to the children. The children that have been taken from their families should either, and I talked to legislators about this, if you're going to take their kids and you're not prosecuting their parents, give their kids back. Because there was no crime committed to take their children. I go around and I speak at a lot of different events about judges, and so I want to hit on a couple of things. When JJ was talking about the Payne County judges, I started doing a little bit of digging. And I can tell you they're all friends, and they were having secret meetings when they decided to do the $1 million bond against Daryl. I can tell you that there's a judge in Oklahoma City, in Oklahoma County, that was arrested with his husband for crimes, but it got shoved under the rug. I can tell you there's a judge in Oklahoma County that was arrested for aggravated DUI in Texas and moved to Oklahoma and changed her name. I can tell you that one of the judges in Oklahoma County has 44 LLCs. And it's not illegal to own 44 LLCs, but as JJ would say, sounds a little sketch. So when this stuff happens, like, we should dig into these judges and know who they are. You can go to the state, the Secretary of the State of Oklahoma, and you can dig into anybody's name to see what they own. And we should be doing that. We should be seeing exactly who these people are tied to when they're deciding the fate of your children, when they're deciding the fate of your assets, when they're deciding the fate of your properties. We should be digging into them and see what their motive is. Because I can assure you, their motive is not justice. Their motive is not the best interest of the child. I've bore witness to more than you can think. I'm also advocating on a federal level. I'm with a national group called ECETT, End Child Exploitation Think Tank. And we've already started nationwide talking to senators and House reps, trying to get cameras in the courtroom at a federal level. So being here today saying we need cameras in the courtroom, if we don't get it in the state of Oklahoma, I'm going to keep fighting on a national level because I'm going to force it from the top down. I've witnessed so much stuff that is not okay. In my husband's court, the abuse was so heinous, the crime should have been arrested. But the transcripts and the audio recording magically disappeared. You know, when they were talking about the sexually transmitted infection that his 9-year-old got, can you hear me? When they were talking about the STD that his 9-year-old got, the testimony from her mother was she got it from a four-wheeler. She didn't get it from a four-wheeler. I've ridden a lot of four-wheelers and never had one of those. So the crimes behind those closed doors at the courtroom and them putting up their signs that says no recording, no video cameras, they're not protecting you. They're protecting themselves. And we have to have cameras in the courtroom. You can find Oklahoma's for Children's Rights. I share a lot of stuff on Facebook. You can ask Rosario Chico about different things. We get hundreds and hundreds of people that contact us and ask us for help. I don't know what to say to you guys except get on Facebook and start telling your story. You will get retaliated against. You will be prosecuted probably. But keep telling your story and don't let them stop you because you have freedom of speech. So I'm Mandy Reed. I pray for each and every one of you. Reach out to me. Reach out to Rosario. Thank you all for coming. Look into this stuff. Keep fighting for cameras in the courtroom because this is the only way we hold people accountable.
Thanks, Mandy. Okay, our next speaker is Rebecca Morrow. She is a mother that exposed judicial misconduct. Let me see. Test that.
Testing. Can you hear me? I'm a little soft-spoken. I'm sorry.
So I was told that it's because we're touching the button, and that's why it keeps going. So grab it here. Grab it down.
I just wanted to say thank you for having me. My name is Rebecca Morrow, and to be honest, I couldn't be standing in front of you if it wasn't for the Lord, because I don't have the strength to do this, especially after everything that's happened and the fight that I've been through for my children just to protect them. I've been in the court system since 2020. I know what the system is capable of. I lost my children 3 times attempting to escape an abuser, a man with a documented history of abuse, because one time I just wanted to take my daughter to ballet and he didn't want me to take her. So what happened? I got a protective order, but DHS stepped in with a written document stating that I hear from the Lord, and that they took my children, ripping them out of my hands, screaming, and placed them in his truck. That started my fight and my battle with the judicial system and the court system. I want to represent the truth and what the truth is capable of. And I understand our country is going through a lot right now, but I believe that people want change. And I believe that change is possible within Oklahoma. I'm fighting for the safety of my children, but I also believe in the safety of all children. I haven't seen my children in more than 2 years. I had an additional 2 years of supervised visitation for reporting abuse. I was told by the caseworker that I was delusional for reporting abuse, despite the documented history of abuse that he had. DHS told me, literally, that I couldn't even see my children unless the hotline stopped being called. It was being called by mandatory reporters, not just myself. In my case, OKDHS had a hand in it with no evidence and assumptions and bias, and particularly familial association within the county. Recently, in an effort to bring forth truth, I went to the courthouse trying to get a transcript for something that I filed recently, and I was told that the third day of our show cause hearing wasn't on the record. It didn't exist. There was no minutes, and there was no court reporter on listed. But I had the 2 previous days, those transcripts, but not the transcript of the caseworker. The case that day didn't exist. At one point during one of the hearings that I had, my attorney literally told me, he just faced me and said, "You might as well just stop now because this is not going to go in your favor." And I had seen it in him because I had seen them talking in the hallways, in the rooms. I'd heard the chatter. It's not hard to in a small town. But this travesty has changed my life. I have missed years of my children. The time that they were 5 and 4 when it started, and now they're 10 and 9, and I don't even know what they look like. I refuse to get on social media because of safety concerns, and because it's too hard to see the family that is spending time, all the time with my children, that they themselves have records. The judge in my case was the same judge in 1999 that wouldn't allow our abuser to have visitation. Yet he removed them from my custody and placed them with him. And OKDHS said I was delusional for reporting abuse. I filed a judicial complaint. I did. I filed complaint after complaint after complaint. I reached out to the Attorney General. I reached out to the Governor. I reached out to everyone I could think of possible, and to no avail. But I did file a judicial complaint on the judge, and I received from the Supreme Court a reprimand of that judge based on the information that I provided and a statement that he made in court. If it wasn't for that one document, I wouldn't have made it this far, because I feel like I'm fighting a system that every single thing I do is used against me. Every single word I speak is used against me. Justice cannot survive without truth. Transparency is not optional. It is the foundation of accountability. Justice for all must mean justice for all, not just for the abuser, not just for people that don't speak out, but for everyone. No parent, no child, no family in Oklahoma should ever be erased from the record or have to fight to be allowed to be a mother. I just want to give them a hug and hold them and tell them that I love them and that I'm fighting for them and I know what they're going through. I keep a log for them so they know to believe the truth once the truth is revealed, because I believe with all my heart that the truth will come to light and that people will be held accountable. But it does come out with our voice. Change comes from courage, not from silence. And I couldn't stand up here today if it wasn't for the courage from within that the Lord provides. Justice will only rise when we rise, and I believe that, and I know that everyone here is doing that. and I thank you for it. Thank you for the movement that we're starting in Oklahoma in order to protect our children and our families, because I know not just Oklahoma, but the whole country wants that right now. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's hard listening to these stories, and when I first started in this movement, I questioned people. You know, I never believed that we would have such a broken system, that people would be suffering and children would be torn from their families. Rosario Chico was definitely, you know, an eye-opener for me, because you can't imagine someone in her position, someone like her who has absolutely nothing wrong, who's never done anything wrong, and is still fighting for her children, and that's just a tragedy. That should never happen in our system. Our next speakers, we have the Luthers. This is Haley Luther and Nikki Luther. They're a mother and daughter. I'm going to let them come up here and speak together.
Okay, sounds good. I'll let you go and then I'll go. Okay. Oh,
Hello.
sorry. Hi, my name is Haley Luther. This is my mom, Nikki Luther. Hi. Can you hear me now? Okay. My name is Haley Luther. This is my mom, Nikki Luther. I stand before you not just as a mother, a Native American, or a veteran, but as someone who has... Can you hear me? Okay. But as someone who has lived through the cracks and corruption of our court system. My court system isn't in Tulsa County, it's in Grady County. I'm here to tell you why cameras are a must in our courtrooms. Sunlight is the best disinfectant. Right now, much of what happens in our courts, like our family courts, private courts, and district courts, never see the light of day. Judges, attorneys, DHS workers, and even so-called neutral evaluators can say or do things behind closed doors, closed doors that would never withstand public scrutiny. Without cameras, the record is controlled by whoever drafts the minute order, not by the truth of what was actually said or done. My case shows the consequences. So in my own case, I have watched judges issue orders that strip me of my parental rights without hearings, deny evidence of child abuse, and even forbid me and my family from taking my child to a doctor. I've watched DHS workers contradict themselves, suppress forensic reports, and coordinate ex parte with opposing counsel. These violations are hidden because the only official record is a transcript that takes weeks or months to get. And if you can even afford it, like what was said previously, sometimes they're up to thousands of dollars. Cameras would create accountability by showing the public exactly what happens in these courtrooms. Sorry. Transparency protects families. When children are being trafficked through child custody, when mothers and grandmothers, such as myself and my mother, are substantiated for mental injury just for taking our children to the doctor, when judges are signing orders after being recused, such as my judge, I recused him and he then went on to sign an order afterwards. There is no accountability unless the public can see it. Cameras would deter misconduct, expose bias, and protect families like mine from judicial abuse. Other states do it. Like Mrs. Woolley said, 47 other states have cameras in the courtroom. So why can't we, Oklahoma, have cameras in the courtroom? They've proven that transparency doesn't destroy justice, it strengthens it. It keeps everyone honest. It keeps the judges, attorneys, and state agencies, and even witnesses accountable. It reminds them that they answer not just to the law, but to the people too. This is about constitutional rights. The First Amendment guarantees freedom of the press and the right of the people to know what their government is doing. The 14th Amendment guarantees due process. How can there be due process when hearings are hidden? Transcripts are delayed and rulings are misrepresented. Cameras aren't a luxury, they're a constitutional safeguard. I'm not here because I want attention. I'm here because children are being silenced, families are being destroyed, and justice is being mocked in secret. Oklahoma needs courtrooms to make sure that what happens in the dark is finally brought into the light. Justice cannot survive in secrecy. Transparency is the only cure. Thank you.
The only thing I really would add to that is if you are going through family court or any court, definitely do your research. In Oklahoma, you will find a lot of these court reporters are actually the judge's bailiff or office assistant. That in itself screams bias. In my daughter's case, if you look at it on OSCN, you will see that they did a transcript, and the judge went to the reporter, told her that it was incorrect, she needed to change something, and of course it got changed. They did not go off of They did not go off of a recording. They simply just went off of, judge went in there and said, take this off, it was incorrect, put this instead. Another thing that I would speak on is the cost of the transcripts. Even if you can get them, because there was a court reporter, then you have to have hundreds of thousands of dollars, and you can't afford it. So we do need cameras. We need them badly. Our children need them. Oh, thank you.
Thank you so much, ladies.
Do you want me to put this on here?
It's okay. I'll just, yeah.
Okay, got it.
I'm going to do Tara Barton right now. Or do you want to do the sponsors real quick?
Yeah.
Okay, wait.
Hey guys, we had some sponsors that are behind all this that helped us out. Without them, we wouldn't have been able to do it. And I wanted to make sure we thanked them. I had a banner made, but it was so windy outside, I was afraid it wouldn't stay up. So J.H. Davison and Associates, LLC, we appreciate them. On-Call Home Warranty, Protect and Precise Roofing, Ohana Plumbing, H&H Cabinets, and then Street Treats behind you. If you guys haven't tried their food yet, you guys should before you leave. And then Dawson Design helped us out with all of our shirts and our gear and everything else. We want to thank them. Extra big thanks to all those guys.
Okay. Our next speaker is Tara Barton, and she is a mother that has been affected by the system. It's getting a little warmer now, guys.
My name is Tara Barton, and I am the mother of Serenity Barton and Michael Hollins. For more than a year, I have been denied court-ordered visitation with my daughter, Serenity, not because of anything I did wrong, but because I refused to give my confidential address to my abuser. My address is protected under the Address Confidentiality Program 22 Oklahoma Statute 1614. But Judge Cynthia Pickering in Okmulgee County ignored that law and punished me for protecting my family's safety. This case has been riddled with violations of the law and of basic human rights. 43 Oklahoma Statute 1074 requires custody decisions could be based on evidence. Custody was given to Stephen Christian, who is not Serenity's father, with evidence to justify it. 43 Oklahoma Statute 109 says the best interest of the child must come first. That was ignored. 10A Oklahoma Statute 17105 protects siblings' bonds. My son Michael, who is autistic, has been cut off from his sister. 10A Oklahoma Statute 1110521 defines neglect as failure to provide medical care. Stephen admitted he did not provide basic care, yet the court did nothing. 12 Oklahoma Statute 2012 requires timely pleadings. Untimely and even fraudulent filings were accepted anyway. Beyond the statutes, Judge Pickering violated the Oklahoma Code of Judicial Conduct. Canon 211, she failed to recuse herself despite conflicts of interest. Rule 1-2, she undermined public confidence in the judiciary. Rule 2.2, she failed to act impartially. Rule 2.6, she denied my right to be heard. Rule 2.8, she treated me with disrespect, calling me manipulative and dismissing me. Rule 2.9, she allowed ex parte communications with the other side. I have been threatened by police. I have been threatened by Stephen's lawyer. I have been called a liar, and my children have been called liars, even though their disclosures are documented in medical and therapy records that this court chose to ignore. This is not just about me. This is about every parent, every child, and every survivor in Oklahoma who has been failed by a system that is supposed to protect them. So today I am demanding immediate return of custody of Serenity Barton to me, her mother, restoration of sibling contact with Michael Collins, a full investigation into Judge Cynthia Pickering's misconduct in Okmulgee County, real enforcement of statutory protections so that survivors are never again forced to choose between safety and seeing their children. The law is clear, the violations are undeniable, and the harm to my children is ongoing. I will not stop speaking, I will not stop fighting, and I will not be silenced until justice is restored, not just for Serenity and Michael, but for every child who deserves protection and every parent who deserves fairness under the law. Thank you.
It's not an easy thing to come up and share your stories, so I really applaud the victims and people who have faced some of these horrific stories and are able to come up here and present. Like, I don't know how you have the strength to do it, but I hope that you're telling your story helps other people in the future. Our next speaker, I'm going to let Rosario introduce her because she just walked in.
Our next speaker, I don't know if you guys remember if you were here, but we had a woman that drove from out of town, and she stayed in her vehicle just so that she could attend today's event. This isn't the first time that we have someone do this. We've had someone out of state before drive and stay in their vehicle because they were affected by the state of Oklahoma in a custody case. And so we want to give them an opportunity to speak today. This is the first time that they get to speak, so it's always very emotional and very hard to do, but it's a very brave thing to do. I don't know if you guys follow Page 6 Oklahoma, but we have covered Judge Mueller, who was privately reprimanded by judicial counsel, and then the Oklahoma Supreme Court ruled that her complaint needed to not just be a private reprimand, but instead it needed to be a public reprimand. However, this judge is still on the bench, and who's going to speak is Kimberly Jim Clark, and part of her case was the reason why the judge got in trouble. But what we're noticing is that even though judges get in trouble, if there's a private or public reprimand, that doesn't overturn cases, and it doesn't change things in cases. Just like Rebecca Morrow's case, her judge received a private reprimand and got in trouble for the things he did in her case, but nothing happens. There's no overturning of anything in the case, and so whenever they get it wrong, it sadly stays wrong. And so there needs to be a way to be able to overturn these decisions whenever attorneys and judges are getting in trouble. So I'll introduce Kim real quick.
Hi, my name is Kimberly Gilbert, and my kids are the Stevens boys. That's Sean, Gabriel, Isabella, and then also I got Tristan, Elizabeth, and Morgan. It was been proven that my own judge, Emily Miller, was being biased, and they used my case, my DHS case, to try to hold her accountable. But as I have learned, she's still on the bench, she's still practicing and still ruling in other people's cases, and it's not being held accountable. And I do know and can believe that if there was cameras in the chambers and in the courtrooms, then my kids would not have to be on suffer 7 years now. I fought them for 5, and ultimately they said I needed to lose my rights is because I need to know there's consequences to actions. So I am here that everyone come out. This is overran. There needs to be accountability, and I do believe that with the cameras in the courtrooms, we'll hold them accountable.
Thank you so much for taking the time to come here and for making the drive. I mean, that's such a sacrifice on your part. We really appreciate it. Now, our next speaker is Stacy McGarrett. Where's she at? I saw her earlier. She was interviewing. Did she step away?
Is she still interviewing? Okay.
All right, next up, I'm going to bring up Ms. Connie Johnson. She is going to speak about your rights to vote, how you should vote, different ways to vote, and who can vote. Did I get that right?
Good afternoon, everyone. Hello, you still awake? It is such a pleasure, a privilege, and an honor to be here this afternoon and this morning, and to be collaborating with such a motley crew. These are people who I've come to know throughout this journey of advocating for children and families in Oklahoma. And they are to be commended for their stick-to-itiveness. I appreciate that today is an opportunity for families to be heard. This listening session format is one that we've talked about often, where families really do want someone to listen to them. And you've got legislators here who are listening to what's going on in your families. This is a time when people are not feeling heard. And so today I've listened, I've been re-traumatized. Just a little background on me. I first worked for the state senate for 24 years before becoming a senator. And I had the assignment to write on children and family issues. And I actually held forums at the Capitol relating to the issues of grandparents raising grandchildren. And that seemed really simple back then, based on where we are 25 years later. But we brought DHS to the Capitol, and we're still bringing DHS to the Capitol, aren't we, to hold them accountable, to find out what's broken. And unfortunately, today it's even more broken. I would have never imagined The stories that I heard 25 years ago, not only are they still being told, they're worse. The community has grown. The community of families affected by the court system and the Department of Human Services in Oklahoma is a huge community. And I'm not happy about that. I want to say to you that all that time, I became traumatized from listening. And I've been re-traumatized today from hearing these stories as a mother and a grandmother. I cannot imagine what families are going through, what Lizzie has had to endure behind the courts running their lives, ruining their lives. And so, in spite of that trauma, I want you to stay encouraged because I've learned some things over the years, and I know that if we just do some things, I've seen it work, I've seen some things reverse. I know you're up against a lot of money, and unfortunately money runs politics in Oklahoma. This is a corrupt state based on the money. I like to say the only thing more crooked than Oklahoma is our southern border. Yeah, and that's just the way it is. But the reality is there's still something that guarantees that we can do something about it. I'm saying to you today that you here gathered are part of a community. There are so many communities, communities of people in incarceration, the communities of people whose education systems are failing their children in inner cities and in rural areas where they're understaffed and underpaid. There's communities of people who are just dealing with guardianship, who are dealing with the courts and the states, and everybody is coming to the same conclusion that these groups of people are running things. But we also have to recognize that we put them there. Judges are elected. Legislators are elected. The policies that are making your lives the way they are being created by people that you either voted for or you didn't vote. And that's what I want to share with you today. The ability to vote is under siege. On the one hand, you have people telling you that your vote doesn't count. Oh, it's not going to make a difference, and you believed it. Fewer people voted in the last election than voted. Oh, wait. More people did not vote than the people who did vote. And now it's starting to show up because people say, well, how did that happen? Well, you didn't participate. So it's important to know information about voting first and foremost. Who can vote? It's an interesting reality in Oklahoma that it's often been said that if you have a felony, you can never vote again in Oklahoma. That's not true. When to vote? There's a way for you to know when to vote every time, 30 days ahead. And I'm glad to hear about an election on December 9th here in Tulsa. Where to vote? The information is on the back of your registration card, when to register. But I want to say to you that there's more to know about voting than just the who, what, when, where, how, and why. There are strategies that you must start to look at and exercise in order to play this game. And it is a game. Oklahoma legislators back in the day when we got motor voters, they don't want you to vote. They'll tell you that your vote doesn't count all the whole time. They're taking away your rights, your democratic rights, to the grand jury petition process, for example. But this is being done by people that you did or did not vote for. So, voting. can you guarantee that you vote? You know, around election time, everybody says, get registered. Be sure and get registered to vote. How many have you seen voter registration drive? How many have run voter registration drives? Anybody? Everywhere you look. Register to vote, register to vote. But guess what? People are registered and they're not voting. Why is that? Again, someone has told you that your vote doesn't count. You don't vote because you don't trust elected officials. There are several reasons why people don't vote, but none of them can stand in the face of what families are dealing with today. We must vote. So I want to submit to you a couple of strategies. One is, number one, get registered. Number two, do all the usual stuff. Go the souls to the polls and telephone trees to call up people and remind them to vote. Everything you always do. But the thing I have been pressing for the last 11 years that was put on my heart when I ran and made history as the first woman and the first African native person to ever win a U.S. Senate nomination in the state of Oklahoma. Now what that translates to is all of our senators are white men. That's just what it is. But that's because during that election, we had 29% voter turnout. And that was in 2014. In 2022, we had 17% Democratic voter turnout. In a recent election in my community, we had 9% voter turnout. Yeah. So what are we to do? My final statement to you, my final suggestion for a strategy, and I'm going to tell you, I know I'm on to something because they're trying to change the law about mailing in your ballots. I'm saying to you, and this is what came to me in 2014, people are registered, they're not voting, how can we guarantee that they vote? Just apply to vote by mail. Just apply. Go to okvotebymail.com and just apply. You don't have to use the ballot, number one. But when you do that, you'll know that the December 9th election, you will know about it 30 days ahead of time. You will know that your registration is correct. You will have the opportunity, once you get that ballot in the mail, to take it and go to a gathering and talk about it and figure out who's for you and who's against you. Figure out what a state question is really saying. You have an opportunity to organize around having that ballot in your hand. You can actually hold your own ballot party and mark the ballots together. But my thing to you, last and greatest, is never mail it in. Hand deliver the ballot, in which case you have 30 days from Monday through Friday from 8 until 5, including the Monday before the Tuesday election, to hand deliver your mail-in ballot, and you can track it to make sure it was counted. Never mail it in. So those are the strategies that I'm suggesting we need to start to focus on. We got to do something different besides registering people to vote. And if you can give people a way to guarantee that they vote, simply by applying to vote by mail, making a plan to vote, doing the souls to the polls, taking the steps that guarantee that we vote, we can change this. You can change these communities, the communities of incarceration. I'm telling you, the communities of people of color. If we just vote, you can change things. It doesn't matter about race. We're dealing with all the same things in Oklahoma. The communities of people with children in child welfare, children in incarceration, families where families are broken. These are the communities that I'm speaking to today. I'm encouraging you to take steps to guarantee your vote. Please see me later. My company is Advocacy Works. Again, I'm Senator Connie Johnson. 2014 history-making U.S. Senate nominee, and two-time candidate for governor of the state of Oklahoma. I still want to serve Oklahoma, and I want to help you get the most service out of your elected officials. God bless you. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Senator Connie Johnson. Our next speaker is Mr. Donald Broom, and he is a mortgage broker that helped in 20 probate cases, am I correct? Melissa, okay, well, we've exceeded the 20 that I was told about. So here you go.
Good morning. I'm retired Vice President and Grant Office Manager for Mortgage Clearing Corporation. Trust and property of beneficiary. Prime example, a friend of mine who's recently, Kenton McKee, he and I either don't get old, by the way. It was either 2 weeks before or after.